Thank you, Nancy. Well, since I don't see my partner in crime out there, Neil Chaudhry, I'll dive right in. Good morning. My name is Todd Hager. I'm the industry chair for the Emerging Technology Community of Interest. And within our community, we have a variety of working groups, and we're going to talk today about an area that touches on many of those working groups, the Defense Innovation Unit, and the memorandum that came out, and hopefully get a little bit of a sense of what we all need to be concerned about and aware of as we go forward. We've got a couple of speakers here today to talk about that. So Nancy's kindly put up our mission statement and current objectives. Most of our work within the Emerging Technology Community of Interest is done through our working groups. And those are areas where people of interest in particular technologies can talk through issues and understand how they work, have materials to help support them back in their own work or in their own agencies. And those folks meet more regularly than we do in the emerging tech community. But we have a very strong leadership team here. And I'll just call out the folks in red who just recently joined us. Welcome to Aaron Fitzgibbons, who just recently became our communications chair, and Keith Boshin, who just took over as the AI government chair, and David Hook, who's the AI industry chair. And we have Jerry Hagedorn, the DevOps government chair. You'll also notice that we have 3 open slots. Oh, sorry, Nancy. We've got an open role for an engagement chair, a knowledge chair, and as I mentioned before, our work is done through the working groups, and we produce papers, primers and playbooks and white papers to help folks understand and bring that technology into their organizations. We're anxious to make sure that we keep that knowledge up to date and consistent and readily available for all of our team members. And that's what the knowledge chair is really going to be doing there. Additionally, we have a social media chair. We can't go without making sure that folks on social media know who we are and what we're doing. So thanks, Nancy. Nancy, I'll let you take on from here.
Sure. Good morning. Hi, I'm Nancy Delanoche. I'm the Director for Communities of Interest here at ACT-IAC, and I just wanted to update you on a couple of events that are coming up this fall. We have two forums in September. Both of them are virtual. We have the Cyber Summit and the US Cyber Challenge in October. That is in person. And of course, the biggest event that we put on for the year, which is Imagination ELC. It is in late October, and it's a hybrid event. The in-person component will be at the Hershey Lodge in Hershey, Pennsylvania, and we'll also have a virtual component. If you're interested in participating in any of these events, let me know, or sponsorship. We are so open for sponsorship for these events. Let me know. If you would like more information about the program as well, the speakers, the agenda, let me know and I can share that with you. Thank you. Back to you, Todd.
Terrific. Thanks, Nancy. Good morning, Neil.
Good morning, sir.
Hey. I'll just dive right in here and we'll turn it right over to the program, folks. So we are very honored today to have a couple of folks from GSA to talk to us about that, the Defense Innovation Unit memo that we've been all sort of hearing a bit about. So I've got Sam Navarro here with us, who many of you know has been working with us in the emerging tech community for a bit now. And he is he's bringing along Darrel Davis. And I'm going to turn things over to you, Sam, and let you do the introductions from here.
For sure. Thank you, Todd. And thank you for the Emerging Tech Community of Interest for having us. So I get to be Darrel Davis's hype man for today. So just wanted to kind of lay the foundation, and I'll transition it over to Darrel and the incredible work he's been doing with the Defense Innovation Unit. So pre-pandemic, the information technology category within GSA launched a sprint, which was tied into how do we monitor emerging technology and identify early in the innovation adoption life cycle so that we're ready for agencies when they're ready to incorporate these kinds of technologies within their enterprise catalogs. And so Darrel Davis was pinged as the guy to lead it. And at the time, I was the wireless mobility program manager. So within my portfolio, of course, 5G was kind of front and center and very high at the hype cycle during that time on innovative ways that agencies would leverage the network to enable a lot of these emerging use cases. And so Darrel and I went to work. He built a framework that really launched a lot of cool innovations, one of which is the Defense Innovation Unit. We were able to bring folks to the table that have deployed public and private 5G capabilities. Darrel brought in some of the cities that have done it. We brought in the Federal Mobility Group to talk about what were the pros and cons, and a lot of federal agencies, based on those engagements, made decisions on how they were going to incorporate 5G to their portfolios and what made best sense for them. All the way from the largest agencies to DoD, we worked with them, to the smallest USAID. And so we also established a partnership with the Joint Artificial Intelligence Center. Darrel was key in that as well, which launched centers of excellence, and a lot of other important procurements from that office that have enabled DoD to look at AI use cases. And then one of the many, I won't go down all of the list, Darrel, but one of the many was this Defense Innovation Unit agreement, which, bottom line up front, everyone who's on this call understands that the contract vehicles that we put in place are just as strong or only as strong as the industry partners that are on it. And so what we quickly identified within the life cycle of emerging tech, and Darrel did, was that a lot of DoD entities were working with emerging tech, Silicon Valley companies within the other transaction authority space. And the question is how do we enable and make sure those industry providers were also available within the government-wide acquisition, the GWAC space or the schedule space, once agencies were ready to scale those solutions. And so very successfully, we've established this agreement between us to really enable that transition from, I'm going from a prototype proof of concept to now I'm going full scale, and now I have the ability to deploy it on government-wide acquisition solutions. And so Darrel was point on kind of establishing the relationship, building the parameters that he will get into here shortly on how we were going to work and collaborate together. And so there's a lot of opportunity, I would say now, not only for those industry partners that are within the OTA space and now exploring the GWAC space, but for folks that are on and have been on the GWACs and schedules to kind of query and look at these offerings and see if they could add those to their portfolio to support agencies that want to modernize as well. So with that, I'll get off my soapbox and I'll transition it over to Darrel. And I just want to thank him for taking time out of his schedule to kind of run us through what we've done and what the partnership entails as of today. So Darrel, floor is yours.
Hey, I appreciate that, Sam. Again, my name is Darrel Davis. I'm a senior advisor in the Solutions Development Division within the Information Technology category of FAST and GSA. So I appreciate the opportunity to come and talk with you guys today. Todd and Jacqueline said it was going to be kind of informal. So, I just want to kind of talk about why we thought this partnership would be a good idea and kind of how we started it and what we're focusing on going forward. Next slide, please. So basically DIU, like Sam said, they are allowed to use the other transaction authority process or the OTA process, which allows them to go from pilot process conception all the way to commercially accepted product or solution within about 0 to 18 months, 0 to 24 months. There's 6 focus areas, however, are the ones you see on the slide. Some of the areas overlap with obviously things that we do here at GSA. We have a big AI machine learning area. We're big in cyber, also on advanced energy and materials. And then they play in some other spaces that we are trying to focus more on going forward, like an autonomy, which is kind of their robotics section, drone area, human systems, which are geared to the DoD components. And again, robotic systems that enable soldiers to work better. And then they have some applications in space where they focus on as well. Next slide. So the great thing about this partnership is that because DIU is authorized as a DoD component under the Department of Defense, they are authorized to use the OTA process. We wanted to let both partners do what they're really good at. So DIU was put together in around 2015, and their mission is basically, again, to go from a problem that one of the DoD components might have, be it Marines, Army, Navy, Coast Guard, Air Force. They take that problem statement from a DoD component and they look around out in industry and say, is there something in industry already out there that can be used to satisfy this problem statement? If there is, then they point that DoD component to that vendor that can answer that problem statement and with the product or solution that might work. If there isn't, then that's kind of where their process starts. They bring in, 80 to 100 different types of vendors. A lot of these are small, non-traditional companies that have never done business with the federal government. They might be based out of Austin, Texas, or Silicon Valley in California, or they might come from one of the academia labs back east with Harvard, MIT. So they come from different areas, basically. They run them through their phase 1, 2, and 3. Basically, they whittle those down through their process. And after, again, 12 to 24 months, they have prototypes that they can march out on that solves those particular problem statements that they started with at the beginning. Once they pick 1 or 2 vendors that meet that problem statement, then they test that with real world type testing, R&D, different types of research and engineering, and then they issue a completion statement. Now, once they issue that completion statement, that is our cue at GSA on our side of the house to know that that product or solution is now commercially available, which, as you know, from federal acquisition regulation standpoint and process, that's what GSA needs to work with companies and make them fully exploitable by all federal agencies within the government. Next slide. So again, that OTA process that DI uses, it lasts from about 18 to 24 months. What we wanted to do is use our knowledge of federal acquisition to really be able to take those companies that had gotten that completion statement and develop a bridge on how we would bridge those over so that we at GSA could market and advertise those products and solutions. So we came up with 4 main alternatives. One, always we can have them be a prime vendor with another partnership under a company that already has a multiple award schedule. We also have companies that enter into reseller agreements, so that's another option. We have companies that do that and they provide software like Carahsoft and other companies. We can also look at having them join a GWAC only during open periods. And we have actually a couple GWACs going on now with Polaris and Alliant 3 and some other work that we're doing internally. And then again, we always are looking for new companies that we can put on the multiple award schedule and then provide them with their own special item number. So far, we've just signed this MOU this past March of 22. We've had 12 DIU companies go through our process. We have vendor management innovation intakes every month. And our team does a really good job of bringing companies in. We've tried to utilize those for DIU probably every other month. And we might, going forward, we might scale that back to once a quarter. We're just kind of figuring out our process and our partnership together. The really exciting thing is that by working with DIU, we're getting a chance to see early on what's in their pipeline and what's inside their 6 focus areas. We're planning a cybersecurity event for January of 23 and potentially another virtual conference event with them in the AI machine learning space for August of 2023. Next slide, please. So we're also, as we work with DIU, we're also looking at other organizations and federal agencies that use the OTA process that we can work with as well. There's about 11 federal agencies are authorized to use that along with the DoD. So we're looking at other organizations and avenues to work with going forward. The MOU was started, that process, we started talking about it in February of 2021. So it took approximately 12, 13 months just to get the MOU signed by both parties. We had both legal staffs take a look at it, make sure everything that we wanted to do and we're working on was within scope, both at GSA and at DIU. So we took a little extra time to make sure we got those kind of processes correct. And we're really excited that we did that. We have some really great leadership at GSA, Ms. Laura Stanton and Larry Hale. They've given us kind of the freedom to operate and develop these new kind of partnerships. They're very big. Ms. Laura Stanton is very big on collaboration and partnerships. So she really hones that into us with their middle managers, and she gives us the freedom to put different types of partnerships together. So I definitely want to say thank you to Ms. Stanton and Larry Hale. Also, as a part of that, we're also looking at continuing to work with DIU and look at other areas that we possibly could help them in the areas of research and development and engineering and testing. Next slide. So some new ideas we have on the horizon, some exciting things that we believe will follow. We want to engage with academia, create some critical partnerships there. We have a lot of different ideas around quantum cryptography, areas of different cyber technology. Again, so we want to definitely leverage a bunch of new exciting virtual events that we're going to have going forward. We're starting to have some wins. We've gotten, out of those 12 companies, we've gotten 2 to be resellers. We've gotten 1 to be have their own multiple award schedule and a special item number, and they're already getting awarded contracts from the Navy. So we're excited about that. And then at some point in time over the next couple of years, fiscal year 23, 24, we're hoping to put together some type of emerging technology internship program that we're excited about as well. And just going to be working with our HR teams, both within ITC, GSA, and DIU to potentially make those types of things happen. So we're really excited about it. The sky's the limit. This partnership's really, it fits right into our strategic snapshot of modernizing our technology, of increasing our workforce experience. And we, by working with DIU, our contracting officers have piloted an easy process, and they've cut the time to get on schedule down about 40 to 50% by using that easy pilot process. So we're excited about that as well. Next slide. And again, this falls right into our strategic blueprint of continuing to be a trusted source, coming up with innovative type of ideas, and making sure we're operationally excellent, more efficient, more effective, getting things on the multiple award schedule, new products and solutions a lot more quickly and faster and more efficiently. So we're really excited about those things in this partnership going forward. And I'll take any questions that might have out in the audience.
Not sure if you can see some of the questions out there, Darrell. I can read some of them off too, if you like.
Okay, yeah, could you do that, please?
Sure. So from Sandy Barsky, Darrell, what is the status of the commercial solutions openings, CSO, available through the GSA, DHS, and DoD? And where does the CSO factor into your work, and what is the future of the CSO?
Well, the CSO, we're looking at that from a couple of different angles. Sam is actually working at our technology transformation service side of the business now. We have groups on that side that work with the CSO process. We're more so focused on the other transactional authority process that DIU uses, but we are starting to get into some of those other avenues as well. We've had one major contracting officer brainstorming session with the DIU contracting officers. So we've got some things in the fire, but just not totally defined yet. So I don't want to let the cat out of the bag, but maybe in another 6 months, I can come back and kind of talk and elaborate on those a little bit more.
Right, and the reason why these conversations were so timely is because we realized that there's gaps in the adoption strategy within OTAs and CSOs. Let me give you an example. I could create a prototype or proof of concept on one CSP's infrastructure within the OTA, but then when I recompete this opportunity to scale on a government-wide solution, I may be on a different service provider's infrastructure, right? Which may provide its separate challenges. So it's very hard to go apples to apples within that space. And you guys know that it's all about speed, faster deployments, reduced operational costs within emerging technology. And we were realizing that within the prototype, proof of concept, innovation space, but then all of those gains to be faster and more efficient were kind of lost once you try to translate that over to the operational environment. So partnerships like this are going to hopefully enable us to hopefully move, in a sense, past that when it comes to emerging technology. And we don't see why you can't use a government-wide acquisition vehicle, for example, for a technology integrator to do the same prototype proof of concept thing that you're doing within the OTA space, and then also scale at the same time. We've already seen Air Force do it with Software Factory, right? They're using Alliant 2 to do prototype proof of concept, do DevSecOps, right? And then release these things into the production environment off the bat also. So hopefully that's the business model that we can be more agile moving forward within the FAR space, so to speak.
Sam, I see that you've answered some of these questions here. If you want, I'll go ahead and just let you take on the Q&A. And folks, just we're looking at the chat. If you have any difficulty, I mean, you can certainly raise your hand in the Zoom call, or you can just pop it into the chat. Thanks, Sam.
Thanks, Todd. Yeah, and I left off with Angela's question, at which Darrell answered. We were able to use Fastlane, or it has a new title now, Darrell?
Yes, our contracting officer staff are piloting what they're calling the EASE process, EASE. And that is kind of a combination of the old Fastlane process and Springboard, but digitized. And so they are piloting that process on our DIU companies that are coming on board through our vendor management innovation team. So that's another thing that's happening. We're piloting real-time acquisition efforts with real companies and real products and solutions. So we're going to get a really good gauge here in the next 60 to 90 days of how we're doing.
And then Dan Marino had a good statement which said, what's the DIU backlog look like for GSA? DIU leadership just transitioned, and the organization may start to lose momentum and impede innovation. So, you know, one of the things that we quickly realized about DIU is how small of an organization they are. You know, when you think in comparison to like the office, the Undersecretary of Research and Engineering, OUSD, I know just when I was engaging with them on 5G, they were able to invest $2 billion, right? Just on prototyping and proof of concepts for 5G, you know, and that's not the rest of their portfolio. DIU doesn't operate in that manner. They're more agile, they're more nimble, so to speak. And so this partnership, I think, and Darrell, correct me if I'm wrong, just helps enhance what they're already doing to not only talk about things in terms of just doing it in the idea space, but then turning ideas into reality, right? Bringing them into a space where you can actually operationalize them right there.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree. I think the partnership, like Sam pointed out, DIU is a small organization. They have approximately 170 to 180 FTE, whereas when you're talking about GSA, we have over 12,000 employees. So, and what we are really good at is not only doing federal acquisition, but we're very good at helping companies and vendors market and advertise their products and solutions. So we definitely have different divisions that work with the small businesses and work with our vendors on not only how to get the products and solutions on the multiple award schedule and get their own special item number, but we follow that up with support that points them in the right locations, helps them advertise and market their wares. And then because once you get on the multiple award schedule and you're assigned a special item number, you're also eligible for local and state and tribal contracts as well. So a lot of these small vendors, non-traditional, they're not even aware of that. They weren't always thinking of that type of business, working with different state entities, different local businesses, different city municipalities. So this opens a whole brand new game park for those guys to market their wares in. So the companies that we've been working with from DIU are really excited.
Right, and Sandy had a great question also, what makes it easier for the vendor community? My answer to that, and Darrell, you could chime in as well, is, I think as you guys talk to agencies, a lot of the questions revolve around, have you done this within the government space, right? Whatever that emerging technology use case is. And the consortiums are a great avenue to actually test, try, deploy at a small scale a solution within the government environment, within a government environment, and no more strenuous environment than a DoD environment. And I think one of the things the consortiums are doing very well is they're being very transparent about the technical concepts they're testing. I know within the Federal Mobility Group, 250 technical concepts were tested within the Office of Undersecretary of Research and Engineering. All of that content was shared with USAID, with State Department that was doing Secure Path, with Commerce. And so the challenge was there were a lot of members of that consortium that weren't on a government-wide acquisition vehicle, right? So then you have to go open market or figure out a way to get access to some of these folks that are doing some of these things in this space. So what we've done here is not only now does the vendor community within this consortium space now have the tried and proven solution, but now they can say, I have fair and reasonable pricing that's already been carved out within a government-wide solution, right? And it's been scoped out, ready for a solicitation so that they could put a proposal against it. So, I know a lot of times it's hard to kind of do apples and oranges comparison, even though a vendor may have done the work in the private sector. It doesn't mean it has an ATO, right? It doesn't mean it's FedRAMP compliant. It doesn't mean that it meets a lot of the criteria that we're looking at within the federal space. So I think that's the value, is really tapping into the consortiums. And I'm not even saying be a member of a consortium, because a lot of the content, like I said, is open source. It's open for everyone to look at. But it's in understanding now that that concept has been tried, true, and proven within this emerging tech space. Now it's ready to be broadly incorporated or thought about within the enterprise space to actually use in a real life environment. Darrell, I didn't know if you want to chime in on how this makes it easier for vendors, but.
No, I agree. I think it makes it easier for vendors because they have a partner that they can speak to real time. We've devoted resources specifically to help DIU because we want a lot of small businesses. Ms. Stanton has a big emphasis on small business at GSA, so we take that very seriously. We want to work with non-traditional vendors. And the good thing as well is a lot of these technologies that we're talking with DIU, they're dual use technologies. So they're not just for DoD component, such as Marines, Army, Navy, Air Force. They're dual use technologies that can be used in the civilian marketplace as well. Really exciting, cutting edge things. I mean, we're seeing AI products and solutions for curing cancer. I've seen technology for potentially converting gas-powered engines for the Army over to electric vehicle type use. That's kind of in their pipeline. So we're getting a view of a lot of great things that in the next year or two, the next 0 to 24 months, are really going to change the workspace, not only for the federal government employees, but for civilian people in the United States worldwide. So that's the really exciting part, to see these things early, to be able to work with these small vendors early. And then once they get that completion statement from DIU, to quickly be able to convert them over to a GSA product or solution and make those available for all federal customers. So that's a really win-win on all sides.
Right. Hey, Darrell, and Amy has a question that says, is the new process just for non-traditionals through DIU, the new onboarding process?
I believe the easy pilot is being piloted with DIU. Our contracting officers kind of wanted to have a small sample size where they could kind of see what works and what things that they can make better. But I know they do have a plan that once the pilot is over, to roll it out to more organizations in a bigger fashion. So I think you will be hearing more about that from our contracting officer staff going forward.
John Fall says, this would be a good presentation to share with the acquisition community of interest. Great information. I think we'd love to do that right there.
Yeah, definitely. And I guess I saw one question, do we have a list of emerging technologies? We work with several consultant companies like Forrester, Gartner. Our list changes and is dynamic every year, but I would like to read you guys kind of what we've been using as our emerging technology definition. And so, because emerging technology is kind of different to everyone, but the definition that we've kind of been using within the information technology category is this. So emerging technology can be understood as evolving state-of-the-art information technologies and their use in solutioning to improve and/or transform business processes and enhance mission delivery. Emerging technology includes those technologies that are not yet mature in the marketplace and have the potential for widespread adoption. These technologies are in the early stages of their life cycles and have been implemented by early adopters. So that's about a 3-sentence definition that we've been using for emerging technologies, and we've been using it for some of our newer solicitations. So depending on what your definition is, that's gonna drive what you believe emerging technology is. So that's the best way I can answer that question.
Right, and Jackie has a question in regards to, for the GSA Vendor Innovation team and DIU contracting officers working on this, does the team plan to review the AI use cases recently published in alignment with the Executive Order 13960 to assess how specific technologies can be fast-tracked, especially in regard to potential interagency agreements to support adoption and scaling across the government?
My short answer would be yes. My long answer would be, because of partnerships like this with DIU, we are going to push the envelope as much as we can. And we've been told, by our deputy assistant commissioner for category management to push, and if we need to potentially talk with our head contracting authorities about influencing federal acquisition regulation rules going forward, we will try to do that in order to expedite getting new programs and solutions, products and solutions out there. So we want to affect policy in a positive way. You've seen a lot of different memos come out of the White House and OMB, but we think we at GSA are perfectly positioned to drive these new emerging technologies throughout the federal workspace.
Yeah, and Jackie seems to also be interested in any outreach. It'll be interesting, Jackie, because if there's public-private partnership in this outreach, I think this would be a good forum to leverage. Darrel, you mentioned a few events potentially coming up. Darrel, any specifics on that, or we're still fleshing those out?
We're still in the planning processes, but definitely if there's, especially with the cybersecurity event, if there's a big interest and individuals want to participate, just shoot me an email and let me know where you think your area of expertise is. And if we can utilize you, we'll definitely leverage you going forward. There's always room for more talent.
Yeah, and then George said, do we have a list of those emerging technologies? I mean, we have the pillars, right? Darrel?
Yes, I mean, we have focus areas with DIU. We also, again, we keep track of our, what I call our top 30 every year, emerging technologies. But as you know, emerging technology changes every 6 to 12 months. So that's kind of why I wanted to give you guys a definition of what we believe emerging technology is, because we want to continue to be on that cutting edge of emerging technology before it becomes mainstream in the marketplace. So in order to do that, we've got to keep looking and keep turning on different technologies that are in that sphere.
Okay. All right, did I cover all the questions? Darrel, who are you working with, such as this emerging technology COI on the definition of emerging technology?
We've worked with different organizations. Again, we've worked with Gartner and Forrester. We've also worked with different colleges and academia, and we've also done our own research as far as pulling information from the marketing business aspect of early adopters and late adopters in the marketplace. So we try to work with both academia and business, as well as our vendors as well, and our customer stakeholders. In fact, we are also always scanning the marketplace and talking with our customers just to get feedback on what they would like to see in the emerging technology space going forward as well. So I hope that helps.
Do emerging technologies include IT enablers as well as technical stacks like AI, blockchain, machine learning?
Yes, I believe they do. I mean, I believe you have those bedrock emerging technologies, but as a part of that going forward, different organizations, different vendors, different companies are going to put their own proprietary information on those types of emerging technologies. And I think you'll see more of that going forward.
Yeah, and George, what I would add to that is think of this also as we're moving forward towards a solutions-based consumption model, right? A services-based consumption model. As a customer, I could, if my job, for example, is, I'm catching bad guys, right? I need a solution to help me provide information to the fingertips of law enforcement entities that may be doing work, right? Whether that consists of AI and some of the things that you talked about there, machine learning, blockchain, is kind of maybe at the tail end, right? As agencies move towards a zero trust architecture, a 5G native architecture, right, a cloud-based architecture, they're going to be looking more for solutions and services. And that's really what's emerging within this space, right? I have a solution that can help provide an autonomous capability to enhance the ability for federal entities to do a certain thing, right? Or I have a intelligence solution that can help identify cancer at early stages, like Darrel said, right? And then what's tied into that, whether it's the network, whether it's compute, whether it's storage, whether it's other components, is just part of the delivery of that service, right? And so just think of it from that perspective. I think there are certain government entities that still will be buying this piecemeal, right, and putting things together from an enterprise perspective to deliver but within a lot of spaces, they're really going to be operating from an integrator solutions-based mindset. Which, you know, Dr. Osborne at Palo Alto, he's actually on the panel for ATARC today. We had a great conversation with him on how they deployed 5G within the Palo Alto VA hospital, right? And it was that same mindset. How can they enable a lot of these microservices which their staff needed in the hospital through 5G? And then they quickly realized, well, it's not just the network that provides low latency, high data rates, and ubiquity. We need edge computing capabilities tied to cloud capabilities, right, to deliver the solutions they were looking for, you know. So, and by the way, we at GSA, we want to make sure we connect the dots for agencies that are looking for support in this capacity, right? If you may not know what you're looking for, but you know you're trying to enable X, right? And so feel free to plug into us if you're in that space within your procurement journey, and we can help kind of bring you full circle to what's the technology or set of technologies I'm looking forward to deliver that to the end user. Problem solving solutioning seems to be the driver behind these efforts. I couldn't agree with you more. I couldn't agree with you more on that, Jorge. It is problem solving solutioning. And it's kind of a shift in mindset, right? When we all owned our own enclaves, a lot of folks used to come to us and say, we need this specific technology, right? Well, what do you need it for? Well, that's irrelevant. I want to buy this, right? Now it's more of, I have this problem. What technology or technological solution can you provide to me to help me solve it, right? So you're right. The framework on how we think about IT consumption has kind of shifted a bit. So Sandy said, Sam, great points. How can the GSA prevent vendor lock-in, open up enough to permit the review and realignment of software and other chosen solutions more rapidly? It'd be great, Darrel, if you had insight on this. I think really where we're making that shift is in business intelligence and in the transactional data. I know that the government's been making a concerted effort in taking consumption data and being able to really look at how we buy solutions from an apples to apples perspective, right? Different vendors have different ways of selling their solutions, and this is particularly so within the cloud space. And I don't want to say we want to commoditize everything, because, right, you know, not everything is looked at within that lens. But in the best way possible, if we can technically evaluate things on a even scale basis for the need that the government has in that particular area, the business, the transactional data can help us make that determination from one part, right? And so it's really being able to leverage how we're consuming products, services, solutions from vendors, and bring that down to the customer's level where they can then look at that information and then compare it to the solution that they need for the problem they're trying to address to make the best decisions. And then I think it's a given that we're going to live in a multi-vendor, multi-cloud environment, right? There's going to be multiple solicitations there where agencies are going to have to look at ways that they can integrate their enterprise across the board. But there's solutions out there to do that, and GSA, we're here to help. But Darrel, I don't know if you have any.
No, I was going to say, I think at GSA, we want to get a lot of great vendors on our solutions, and then work with our customers on deciding which vendor is specifically the best one for them. But we always want to make sure that we have great vendors that are offering great products and solutions. And then it's kind of up to the customer. I mean, I see it as, we want great BMWs and Mercedes and all types of really nice cars available. But then at the end of the day, it's the customer's job to pick which vehicle they really like to ride in, right? So it always ultimately comes down to what the customer prefers.
And then the follow-up, Darrel, for that one is, how frequently do we do these reviews?
These talks like this with the group that we're in now, or just for emerging technology, or what reviews are we talking about?
Right. Well, we look at the data off of eBuy, right? Every solicitation that's placed, we see how many proposals get placed by our vendors against those solicitations. And right, if you're in the range of having 2 to 3 solicitations, that's an indication to us we need more competition, right? So we're periodically doing these, and there's different folks within the organization that raise this up to our level, right, Darrel?
No, you're definitely right. I mean, the contracting officers are continually reviewing different solution sets. We have annual PMRs every quarter with the different contract vehicles that we work. So we're constantly reviewing our vendors and our products and solutions to make sure that they're very good for our customers. And then we also work with our vendors and customer stakeholders in making sure any potential gaps that we're closing and we're filling in. And that's where partnerships with DIU are very valuable. So again, we think this is going to be a great long-term partnership and offer a lot of good products and solutions for our federal customers.
Yes, and then Keith had a great question, which is regarding vendor lock-in. Have we looked at establishing requirements for vendors delivering solutions with GSA vehicles to relinquish intellectual property rights for solutions data gathered and created during a project to the sponsoring government agency? So, Darrel, do you have any insight on that?
Well, I know that our legal staff, we are always consulting with our legal staff on, IP rights of different vendors and organizations. So that's just part of a natural review that we have that our legal group does. So yeah, we're constantly reviewing any legal issues or complications that might come up and making sure that where we can, the government is capturing the information that we need to capture, and where we cannot, we're following the federal acquisition regulations and rules and policies that we have out there.
Right, and this is a two-edged sword, Keith, right? Because if you go after things that vendors deem to be their intellectual property as a government, you're probably gonna scare people away from doing business with you, right? So as a government customer, you find yourself in two predicaments here. One, where you consider the vendor software as kind of a COTS solution, right? But then all the data residing on that COTS solution belongs to the government. And then the other scenario is I'm paying a vendor to build me something specific to me. So then not only does the data belong to me, but also the solution is considered government, GOTS, I think, government-owned technology is a term that we use, which means all the vendors really providing me is labor to create that. And Darrel's right. Legal has been able to help us clearly define that within the solicitations and giving our customers the language to define that within their solicitations, and then creating an SBOM that clearly articulates at the end of this relationship, this belongs to me and this belongs to you, right? So that we're copacetic from the beginning to end, soup to nuts, on where those boundaries are drawn. But great question, because I know it doesn't happen all the time, and sometimes we do cross our hairs in terms of what belongs to when, or we don't have that language clearly articulated because we're just trying to roll out a solicitation as rapidly as possible, and then we find ourselves in that conundrum. But that's what GSA is here to do. We're here to support agencies so that they don't fall into some of these challenges that we've seen other agencies do, right? We don't want to repeat the same mistakes, and that's where agencies can hopefully leverage us. John has a question, Darrel. Is there a web page or contact that would best to share with small, innovative companies that are looking to start this process? Or is this information process spread across GSA, DIU, and industry?
There is a good website. I will forward that to Todd Hager, and then I'll let him distribute that after the meeting. But yes, we will provide that information.
All right, so if there aren't any additional questions, comments, I think we may be a little bit close to time. Todd, we'll transition it over back to you.
Great. Thank you both. Thanks, Sam. Thanks, Darrel. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, Nancy, if you would mind, let's go ahead and share the working group updates there. Great. This is good. And folks, I'll, as Sam and Darrel mentioned, I'll be happy to be a clearinghouse for this information. We'll make sure that we get that out to you. But as I mentioned earlier, all of our work in the emerging tech community is done through the working groups. And I'm just going to run through the working groups real quick. And folks on the phone who are representing these groups, please chime in if you'd like. So we've got the AI working group, and the information on here gives you the idea of who you need to reach out to in order to get engaged. They have a weekly cadence with bi-weekly speaker presentations and so forth. It's a great group that meets at 11 o'clock on Fridays. So I recommend you getting out there. Any folks on the phone or in the meeting want to speak up from the working group, the Artificial Intelligence Working Group?
Hi, thanks for this opportunity. So it's an exciting time to be involved in AI and government, with the 13960 driving a collection of AI use cases across non-DoD, non-intelligence community agencies. And so what we're looking to do at the start of the next fiscal year is really facilitate these discussions between related AI use cases in government, hopefully leading to sharing of information that accelerates development by allowing agencies to leverage the insights of their partners and in other areas of government that they may not have been aware of. So that's our goal here. And we'll also be hearing from academia and industry on alternating weeks.
Awesome. Thanks, Keith. Appreciate it. And we've got blockchain, the granddaddy of working groups for us, also meets weekly at 10 a.m. on Fridays. And they've got a lot of activity going on next year too. I don't know, Fred or Josh, if you wanted to mention anything.
Yeah, so as it's written, we meet on Friday at 10 a.m., right before the AI working group meets. We usually are getting into a schedule of alternating, having a speaker talking about exciting projects around the blockchain technology with the government or outside, and then also doing information on the different projects that we are working on. Right now, we're concluding some on updating some of the publication that were done in prior years, so the primer. And this year, we'll be tackling updating the blockchain playbook as well. Josh, if you want to add anything.
Hi, everyone. So Keith and Frederick did a wonderful job in describing, our efforts in the AI call and the blockchain call. And I just want to sort of add my 2 cents, my opinion here, which is that this is a very exciting time for these working groups. We are sort of on the precipice of this transition in the AI working group from deliverables to active engagement with the federal community, in particular the responsible artificial intelligence officials from the different agencies and the folks who work with them and their teams. For the blockchain working group, as Frederick said, this is a wonderful opportunity for us to refresh and reinvigorate some of the bodies of work that this illustrious group of individuals mostly have already done. So we're just very much looking forward to the continued efforts, and we would love to welcome anyone to participate with us in those endeavors. So please feel free to connect with the folks under the coordination tab, Frederick, myself, Keith, and David Hook, and we hope to see more of you. So thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Okay, we've got an update here from DevOps as well. I don't know if Jerry or David are on, but they've got a regular cadence as well too, and some deliverables in the process. I don't see those guys out there, but let's go ahead to the next one. Intelligent automation is also a very robust working group as well, focused on RPA and other intelligent automation activities. They meet a little less regularly. I think it's every couple of weeks at this point. Oh, I'm sorry, once a month at this point. And they've got a few things planned for next year. And we'll be bringing the intelligent automation team into the AI working group in the coming months as well too. Let's go to the next one, IoT and Smart Infrastructure. This group has really taken off in the past 18 months or so, and have done some great stuff. In fact, they have a good program going on tomorrow as well too. I think I saw Don out there. I'm not sure if, Don, if you have a moment to talk about tomorrow's program. Maybe not. Don may have gone on his way. Okay, they've got a great program set up tomorrow about food security and the IoT implications there as well too. And they have a regular cadence as well. I put my email in the chat. If you want to reach out to any of these folks, please just send me a quick note and I'll make sure that I get you connected. Let's see, the next one is Quantum. And Tim, I'm grateful that you were on the call today, and I've made an introduction to Darrel, who was also interested in Quantum for our earlier conversation. And you guys are just getting things started, and we look forward to some great things coming from your team soon as well too. And then lastly, we have I think we have an ET Accelerator slide, Nancy. Is that right? There we go. Yeah, the Emerging Tech Accelerator. And this team meets every other Wednesday. It's an interesting group that's coming together, not only to talk about emerging tech, but the types of things within emerging tech that affect us all. The folks that work within that space, diversity and equity within that space, making sure that we have a good public-private partnership as well. And Jackie has been spearheading this wonderfully. So Jackie, I don't know if you're still on, if you want to be able to talk about where you guys are and what you've got planned.
Absolutely. So for the Emerging Tech Accelerator, We are currently focused on the deliverables listed on the right. In particular, for the technology literacy group, we're looking for a few folks who would be able to support Amora Upton with the Department of Veterans Affairs in terms of identifying how literacy initiatives can be scaled and what's out there today. And then also we're hoping to work with a few NLP experts to just talk through the details of that deliverable. So for folks who are interested, please reach out. We would love to engage with you. And then for the succession and mentoring deliverable, we are also looking for volunteers to support that. This really covers.
Sorry to stop, but we can't. I don't think we can't hear a lot. We can't hear you, Jackie.
Very, very quiet, Jackie. Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Is this a little better?
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, I had my headphones on. I'll start from the beginning. For the federal technology implement, or for the technology literacy project, we are looking for folks who have experience with identifying the different scales for tech literacy programs. And then we're also looking for folks with background in NLP. We have a team together already who's doing some fantastic work, but we would like to add to that team to keep a diversity of perspectives and also support Amora Upton with the Department of Veterans Affairs. We're also looking for folks to support the succession and mentoring deliverable. And so this is really focused on engaging government, industry, and folks from university across ACT-IAC with leading these kinds of initiatives, with engaging with these working groups, with participating in the COIs. And so we're hoping to bring on more people there. And so for those two areas, if they are of interest, please reach out. We'd love to hear from you. And for our meeting cadence, we do meet every other Wednesday. So for the mid-meeting, every month, the mid-meeting, we go through our projects. And then for the last meeting of the month, we have a discussion group. So happy to provide more information on that. We have an onboarding form that we can also send over for folks who are interested in participating. So please reach out and let me know. And I think that pretty much covers the main initiatives for the group. We'll be covering the Emerging Tech Accelerator in more detail in November for the Emerging Technology COI November meeting. So we're looking forward to sharing more information then.
Great. Thanks, Jackie. Okay, and lastly, we have links and resources here. This deck will be made available on the ACT-IAC site shortly. And again, reach out to me if you need access to this deck or access to any of the folks leading the working groups for the Emerging Tech Community of Interest. Thank you all for attending, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Take care.